Reborn on the day when my sister and I were choosing husbands, I found that I could hear other people's inner thoughts. I heard my sister say, "This time I must snatch a good husband ahead of time." Then, in a hurry, she dragged away the gentle husband I had married in my previous life, and the domestic abuser who beat her every day in my previous life was left for me. I laughed. Did she think that the man I had married before had a good character? I was reborn on the day when my sister and I were choosing husbands. Across the dining table sat two men of similar age. One was Henry, the eldest son of the Henry family, with a cold temperament. The other was Lucas, the younger son of the Henry family, but a bastard with a gentle temperament. This time I must snatch a good husband ahead of time. A female voice came into my ears. It was my sister's voice. I looked at her, but she didn't say a word. Her eyes were just staring fixedly at Lucas. "I'll snatch you away in a while," her voice came out again. Only then did I realize that not only had I been reborn, but I could also hear other people's inner thoughts. And judging from these two sentences of my sister's, she had also been reborn. Otherwise, she couldn't have said such things. Sure enough, the next second she walked over and sat beside Lucas, looking at him shyly. "Hello, I'm Anna. I like you." Suddenly, my father beside me said, "Evelyn, since your sister has already chosen Lucas, then you'll marry Henry." As soon as these words were spoken, there was pride in my sister's eyes. She said in her heart, "In this life, you'll take the beatings for me." In my previous life, my sister married Henry. Henry was very capable in business and was busy with work all day long. It was said that he was frigid. My sister tried to have sex with him several times, but each time she was driven out of the room with a bruised face. Finally, because she had never been pregnant, Henry's mother judged that there was something wrong with her body and drove her out of the Henry family. Lucas, whom I married, although he didn't have much power in the Henry family, was enough to keep me fed and clothed. He accompanied me every day, going shopping, eating, and dating with me, spoiling me to the core. Everyone in the Henry family knew that we had a good relationship. Later, Henry suddenly died of poisoning, and Lucas inherited the family company. My status in the Henry family soared instantly. Jealous of me, my sister drove into me when I was out shopping, and we both died together. "Okay, Dad. I happen to like Henry too," I replied with a smile and walked over to sit beside Henry. I have to say that this man's aura was really powerful. Sitting next to him, I only felt a chill enveloping me, making people afraid to speak. No wonder my sister was beaten so badly by him in my previous life. I tried to listen to his inner thoughts, but he didn't say a word in his heart. However, when Lucas looked at my sister with a smile, I heard him say something. "What a beautiful little darling." Hearing these words, I shuddered all over. Subconsciously, I grabbed Henry's hand. Although he had a cold temperament, his hand was quite warm. Because of my action, he glanced over. I quickly let go of his hand, and only then did he remain silent. Although this man looked quite intimidating, I think staying with him is better than staying with that viper Lucas. In this life, I must change my originally tragic life. I want to earn a lot of money, be independent, and not rely on anyone. My sister and I held our weddings together. We also held them at this time. In my previous life, at that time, Henry didn't come to the wedding. On that day, instead, Lucas came early in the morning. Everyone said that he was a more considerate husband. Sure enough, it was the same in this life. Lucas, wearing a white suit, hurriedly came up and carried my sister away. When passing by me, my sister looked at me smugly. "Sister, why didn't Henry come to pick you up?" I just smiled. "Don't bother yourself about me, sister. You just take care of yourself." She was choked by my words and her face sank. "Humph. I'd like to see if you can still laugh when you get beaten later." After saying this in her heart, she went downstairs with Lucas. But it's too early to say these things. Who will have the last laugh is still uncertain. Henry's absence from the wedding made me, like in my previous life, subject to a lot of gossip and strange looks at the wedding. My sister was even happier and couldn't wait to say to Lucas, "I love you, Lucas." Then she kissed his lips. After the kiss, she stared at me with her mouth full of saliva stains. I knew that she wanted to see me in an embarrassing situation. But I'm not stupid. I won't be like her in my previous life, leaving the scene angrily. That would give the people present and the Henry family something to talk about. I remember that it was said at that time that my sister was not steady and didn't deserve to be the eldest daughter-in-law of the Henry family. So, after marriage, Henry's mother never gave her a good face, making her suffer a lot in the Henry family. I took the microphone and smiled generously at the people in the audience. Today, Henry has a very important business deal to negotiate. Later, when toasting, I'll do it on behalf of Henry. I hope you won't laugh. As soon as these words were spoken, the people in the audience stopped gossiping. Henry's mother, sitting in the main seat, looked at me with new respect. The Henry family is a big and wealthy family that cares most about face and others' opinions. So, at such times, as a daughter-in-law, one must not panic and must show the style of a mistress. My sister also saw the look in Henry's mother's eyes, and a flash of anger passed through her eyes. Damn it. I'll definitely make you look bad when serving tea later. Actually, I think it's really a good thing to be able to hear inner thoughts. With this extra golden finger, a special advantage or ability, everything becomes much more convenient. When it came to the tea serving part, I calmly lifted my dress and walked towards Henry's mother. My sister had been staring at me intently, silently counting in her mind. 1, 2, 3. The next second, I simply sidestepped to avoid it and went to get the tea instead. And my sister fell hard on the ground, getting soaked all over by the tea. Are you okay? Lucas hurried to help her up, but in his heart, he was scolding, what a fool. Everyone was looking this way. Henry's mother was full of anger. So clumsy. Do you still look like the second daughter-in-law of the Henry family? I'm sorry, Mom. I didn't mean it. My sister quickly apologized, but there was unwillingness in her eyes. If I were her, I wouldn't cause any more trouble in this life and would just live a peaceful life. But since she doesn't want me to have an easy life, I naturally won't swallow my anger either. Because of my sister's embarrassment, the wedding ended hastily. Henry's mother didn't give her a good look from start to finish. But when she looked at me, there was relief in her eyes. She even held my hand and said, Evelyn, I'll make sure Henry comes back to be with you tonight to make it up to you. Sure enough, Henry really came back that night. He opened the door and was untying his tie, looking exhausted. I quickly went over to take his clothes. Henry, you must be tired today. He just glanced at me and didn't respond. In my previous life, I heard from the servants that Henry didn't come back on the wedding night. My sister waited alone in the new house, becoming a laughingstock for everyone. She went to complain to Henry's mother, but instead got a scolding, saying that she was incompetent and couldn't hold a man's heart. When Henry was taking a bath, I made the bed for him and prepared tea. Then I tidied up the sofa myself, preparing to sleep there alone. When Henry came out and saw the scene, a flash of surprise passed through his eyes. I quickly said, You sleep on the bed. I'll sleep on the sofa. Evelyn, are you playing hard to get? He narrowed his eyes slightly and stared at me. Because he was wearing a bathrobe, his chest was slightly exposed, and there were some water droplets on it. I have to say, he really has a great body. I quickly averted my eyes. No, we didn't have any feelings for each other before. Sleeping together would be awkward for both of us. If possible, I'd like to cooperate with you. What do you mean? After all, we're just in a business marriage. Many couples like this live their own lives privately and just pretend in public. I married you just to live a life of having enough food and clothes without asking for too much about feelings. Hearing my words, he suddenly curled his lips into a smile. You're very smart. Coincidentally, I want it this way too. I can agree to you. I'm just an ordinary person. I don't have the great ability or confidence to hold a man's heart. After all, in the Henry family, his attitude towards me depends on Henry's mother's attitude towards me. I don't want to be like my sister in the previous life, being targeted by everyone. That would do me no good at all. Moreover, he was violent towards my sister, and in the previous life, I don't want to provoke him and then get beaten either. So I choose to get along with him peacefully. In this life, I just want to use the money to start my own company and then make a great success on my own. I asked Henry to post a photo of our fingers intertwined on his WeChat moments, and he captioned it Happy Wedding. The reason was to make everyone think that there was no problem with our relationship. Besides, I also noticed that his WeChat moments was very clean. Except for this post, he had never posted anything else. A person like him must have a very boring life. Every morning when it was time to sleep, he really slept on the big bed, leaving me to sleep on the sofa alone. He really doesn't know how to be gentle with women. Well, I should be content. The next morning, I was woken up by Henry. He was doing push-ups to exercise while listening to music early in the morning. I heard that men who are frigid are usually skinny, but his 8-pack abs and muscular calf muscles looked really powerful. So much better than Lucas's figure. Stop looking. I'm not interested in you, he suddenly spoke and got up from the floor. Get dressed and come with me to have breakfast. The subconscious message was that this way everyone would think our relationship was good. Actually, I feel that he's quite easy to talk to. Why did he beat my sister in the previous life? After getting myself ready, I went out with Henry. As soon as we went out, I saw my sister and Lucas walking towards us with their fingers intertwined. My sister was wearing a strapless dress with hickeys on her collarbone and shoulders. She even deliberately leaned closer to show them to me. She was full of pride, looking me up and down from head to toe. Dressed so tightly, she must have been beaten and is deliberately covering the wounds, she said in her heart, then laughed smugly. Sister, how was your wedding night? I was wearing a proper long-sleeve cheongsam today. My sister seemed to have forgotten that Henry's mother hated vulgar outfits in the Henry family the most, and the makeup shouldn't be too heavy either. But I didn't want to remind her. I just smiled. Sister, according to the seniority in the Henry family, you should call me sister-in-law instead of sister. Her face suddenly looked a bit ugly, and she gritted her teeth unhappily. Henry hasn't even said anything about this way of addressing. Why should you demand this of me? Then she looked at Henry. Henry, say something. I could feel that Henry beside me was getting colder bit by bit in terms of his aura. Lucas was cursing in his heart. Damn fool. See if I don't teach you a lesson tonight. Then he pulled my sister's hand, signaling her to stop talking. Lucas, what is the first family rule of the Henry family? Henry said softly. Lucas quickly lowered his head. Sorry, brother. I'll teach her a lesson right away. The next second, with a slap, he slapped my sister across the face. Quickly say hello to your brother and sister-in-law. My sister's face flushed red from the slap, and she was so angry that she was almost exploding. But she knew that Henry was not someone to be trifled with, so she could only mutter grudgingly, "Good morning, brother and sister-in-law." After that, she was dragged away by Lucas. Because I remembered that the first family rule of the Henry family was that no one shall show disrespect to the heir and the heir's wife, and they shall not be called by their first names directly. Those who violate this rule will receive 30 lashes. Henry was the heir of the Henry family. I remembered that in my previous life, in order to survive, I memorized all the family rules. Back then, after my sister married Henry, she bullied me everywhere. It was precisely because I remembered this family rule that I didn't dare to be disrespectful to her. I thought my sister knew the family rules, but I didn't expect that she hadn't remembered them at all. So she thought she could still bully me in this life. When we arrived at the dining room, my sister had already received her punishment. Her face was pale, and she lowered her head, not daring to cause any more trouble for the time being. I accurately noticed that under the dining table, Lucas had been pricking her hand with a needle. It's all because of you that I'm getting angry, he cursed in his heart, and the force in his hand gradually increased. In my previous life, not long after I married him, he began to abuse me and didn't allow me to tell anyone. I couldn't escape even if I wanted to, so I suffered a lot. So I'd rather be with Henry than with him. Sister, it was the husband you chose in this life. You can't blame me when Henry's mother arrived. We all stood up to greet her. She was leaning on her cane. Just as she was about to ask us all to sit down, her eyes fixed on my sister. My sister hadn't changed her clothes and was still wearing that strapless dress. Sensing the old lady's gaze, she immediately forced a smile. Mom, it was all Lucas's doing. He said he wanted me to have a baby. As soon as these words were spoken, the old lady immediately flew into a rage and hit her on the back with her cane. Shameless. Your intimacy as a couple is your own business. You are not allowed to talk about it outside, and you are definitely not allowed to dress so revealingly. It's embarrassing. In my previous life, A servant was dismissed by Henry's mother just because she wore a pair of shorts. So I was very careful after that. It was precisely because I lived my life carefully that I managed to survive in the Henry family. So, my sister would think that I had a good life all because I was with a good man, but her way of thinking was wrong. Why does a good life have to depend on others? Mom, I'm sorry. I didn't know. My sister was sweating from the pain of being hit. Lucas also hurried to help explain. Mom, it's all my fault. I forgot to remind her. Although he said this on the surface, he was extremely proud in his heart. Serves you right. I'm so happy to see you being hit. TSK, what a pervert. After all, she was a newly married daughter-in-law, so Henry's mother didn't want to say much more and sat down to let everyone eat. Henry didn't say a word throughout the meal and even served me some dishes. While we were eating, I could feel my sister's angry gaze as if she wanted to tear me to pieces. I smiled even more happily. Thank you, husband. Henry's mother smiled at me with satisfaction. Evelyn, after eating, you go to the company with Henry to learn something. As the eldest daughter-in-law of the Henry family, you still need to learn about some things in the company. I knew that Henry's mother would say this because in my previous life she also said this to my sister at the dining table. But my sister said, I don't want to learn. I can just rely on Henry for my whole life. She pushed away such a good opportunity herself. So when she was driven out of the house, she was penniless. Okay, Mom, I replied to the old lady. Henry took me to the company in the car. I had been trying to hear his inner thoughts, but there was nothing. Well, a man like him wouldn't be held back by anything and wouldn't be bothered. After arriving at the company, Henry took me to his office. Wait here for me, he said, then left through the glass door. Through the glass door, I saw him hurry to the conference room. Curious, I followed him. I saw him communicating with an Englishman in the conference room. They were discussing selling the formula of a product he had developed to Henry. Fortunately, I've already inquired about it before coming. The Henry family is rich. This product formula is only worth a few hundred yuan. This time, I must rip off the Henry family big time. I heard the Englishman's inner thoughts. I looked at him in surprise. His face was as calm as an old dog's, and you couldn't tell at all that he had such a devious plan in his mind. He quoted a high price of 3 million yuan. Henry hesitated and didn't respond for a while. He struck while the iron was hot and said again, President Henry, this product of mine will definitely bring you a value exceeding 3 million yuan. Just as Henry was about to agree, I pushed the door open and walked in. I said hello to the Englishman in English, then picked up the bottle of skincare essence he had developed and looked at it. I'm a woman, and I know more about skincare products. There are only whitening ingredients in this. It can't prevent wrinkles or combat early signs of aging. And you're an engineer. You should know better than I do that whitening is just a gimmick, and its whitening effect is minimal. So I'd like to ask why your formula is worth 3 million yuan. The Englishman was stunned. Immediately, Henry looked at me with great interest and didn't interrupt me. I knew that he allowed me to talk to him like this, so I was even bolder and said, however, this is a foreign product, and you've promoted it on social media, making the public very familiar with and trusting your product. So I can offer you this amount. I held up one finger to him. 1 million yuan. The man asked in surprise, Jack, 1 million is already quite a good offer. You should consider it. Henry stared at him intently and said, No, no, no. I interrupted him. I'll offer you 10,000. It was just something worth a few hundred yuan. 10,000 was already my bottom line. As soon as these words were spoken, the Englishman was so astonished that he stood up directly and said in broken Chinese, Miss, who are you? How can you make such an offer? How am I supposed to do business like this? Fine, I won't cooperate. With that, he was about to leave. Jack, I'll give you 1 million. Sign the contract right away, and then you need to apologize to my wife. Hearing this, Jack immediately turned back, his eyes filled with joy. I didn't understand President Henry's actions and quickly tried to stop him, but he shook his head at me, signaling me not to speak. So I could only hold my tongue. President Henry, you really know how to do business, Jack laughed and then said, Sorry, I didn't know you were President Henry's wife. Then Henry took him to sign the contract. After signing, I asked him quite puzzled, that thing is only worth a few hundred yuan. Why did you offer 1 million? Henry poured a cup of coffee and said slowly, you have a good business mind, but you still don't understand the market. The Jack formula itself isn't worth much. I knew that long ago. What I'm interested in is the brand he created. Although the brand awareness isn't very high now, fortunately, it has already made all young women aware of it. With just a little more promotion, I can earn back the 1 million. Suddenly, I saw the light. So that's how it was. That's why Jack was so confident. It was really right to come here. I could learn something. However, I'd like to know how you knew it was only worth a few hundred. Henry stared at me intently. I smiled awkwardly. I guessed he didn't press me further. Taking this opportunity, I asked him to let me manage a branch company. In my previous life, because Lucas had no status in the Henry family, he couldn't give me anything I really wanted. I really wanted to do business on my own and be my own boss. That way, I wouldn't have to ask anyone for help. I could just rely on myself. Once I earned enough money, I could leave. You have quite an ambition. Don't tell me you're thinking of getting the company, making money, and then running away. He looked at me as if he could see right through me. Damn it, how could he be even better at probing into people's hearts than I was? For the first time, I felt inferior. I, a person with a golden finger, a special advantage or ability, was actually no match for him. It seemed that this was a natural gift. Of course not. I just want to find something to do. He took a sip of coffee. All right, but you have to learn from me first before you can go. In the following days, I went to the company with Henry to learn. I learned a lot about worldly wisdom and business skills. Surprisingly, on this day, he actually took me out to eat on his own initiative. It was at the most luxurious Western restaurant. Unexpectedly, we ran into my sister and Lucas here. My sister was cutting steak for him. When she saw Henry and me, she quickly put down her knife and fork and looked at me in astonishment. Sister, you're here too. Realizing she had called me wrong, she quickly corrected herself. Brother and sister-in-law, are you here to eat too? The next second, her thoughts came through again. Damn it, what bad luck, running into her at a time like this. I mustn't lose face. Yes, Henry and I are here to eat. I took the initiative to hold Henry's arm, and he didn't refuse. Lucas also hurried forward to greet us. Brother and sister-in-law. Henry ignored them and directly led me to our seats. I saw my sister grinding her teeth in anger behind us. She must be wondering why Henry hadn't hit me and had even taken me out to eat on his own initiative. When I went to the toilet, she was waiting for me at the door. When she saw me, she looked as if she wanted to swallow me whole. That look in her eyes was exactly the same as when she drove into me in my previous life. You must have been beaten badly by Henry in private. Stop pretending. You make me sick. Hearing her words, I smiled lightly and pretended to accidentally notice the needle marks on her arm. Oh, sister, what's wrong with you? Why are there so many needle marks? A flash of panic passed through her eyes, and she quickly covered her arm, glaring at me fiercely. It's none of your business. It's a little something between Lucas and me. However, it's normal that you don't know. After all, Henry surely hasn't touched you yet, right? Unlike Lucas, he wants me all night long. I'm exhausted, haha. Clearly, she wasn't having a good life, but she was still putting on a brave face. I really wanted to know how long she could keep being so stubborn. That's good. I wish you and him more and more happiness. After saying this, I wanted to leave, but she grabbed my hair. Are you making fun of me? I frowned. She was still a crazy woman, just like in my previous life. I struggled to make her let go of me. At this moment, Henry suddenly came in and kicked her away. Do you know what the punishment is for being disrespectful to your sister-in-law? Henry held me and looked down at her. I remembered that it was to be locked in the dungeon. I had been sent there by my sister once before. There were countless rats, cockroaches, and snakes in there, so she knew very well what her punishment would be. My sister's face turned pale with fright. Brother, I wasn't intentional. Don't do this to me. But Henry wouldn't be soft-hearted. Once he had made a decision, he would never change it because of anyone. He asked Lucas to take my sister away. Lucas was cursing in his heart. It would be best if she died in there. She's always causing trouble. Henry took me back to the bedroom and checked my head. Are you okay? I'm fine. She just pulled my hair a bit. I pushed him away and straightened my clothes and hair myself. However, why did you suddenly come to the toilet? I looked into Henry's pitch-black eyes. I saw that you hadn't come back. I also want to ask you why you got into a conflict with her again. I thought for a moment. I couldn't possibly tell him that it was because my sister had been reborn and was deliberately targeting me. So I told him, Sister said that she and Lucas are very happy having sex every day, and unlike you, you haven't even touched me. So we got into a conflict. Hearing this, Henry's eyes flickered. So you're implying something to me. I immediately realized that my words had made him misunderstand, and I quickly waved my hands. No. That's not what I meant. I was just telling you why there was a conflict. Evelyn, have you ever thought about doing that kind of thing with me? He stared at me intently. Of course not, I answered him immediately. I just want to rely on you to live a life of having enough food and clothes for the rest of my life. Is that all? I nodded vigorously. He didn't say anything more and just suddenly slammed the door and left. I didn't know which of my words had made him unhappy, and I didn't want to know either. I just wanted to achieve what I wanted. The next day, Henry didn't take me to the company. He asked me to go to the branch company by myself. So I started to focus on managing the branch company. I planned to stop when I earned 10 million. I ran projects and negotiated cooperation deals every day, bringing a lot of profits to the company. Henry's mother told me to take my own remuneration from it. When I was happily making money, my sister came out of the dungeon that day. I had just got off work and was going home. I saw that she had lost a lot of weight but still had elaborate makeup on and was wearing nice clothes. She walked towards me arm in arm with Lucas. Sister-in-law, I've already applied to Mom to learn about the company's business from you and help you share some of the pressure. Lucas thought in his heart, soon, I'll make you and Henry die together. I suddenly remembered that in my previous life, Henry had died suddenly. So, it was him who did it. And in this life, not only does he still want to harm Henry, but he also wants to harm me. I tried hard to control my fluctuating emotions and looked at my sister in front of me. Okay, come tomorrow. I deliberately said this because I wanted to know what kind of devious plan she had. The next second, she thought in her heart, what a fool. Wait for me. Soon I'll kill you all and live a carefree life by myself. So she had become sober after staying in the dungeon for a few days. However, she didn't know that I could hear other people's inner thoughts. How could she possibly kill me? Then, in my previous life, Henry had died of poisoning. I suddenly remembered that at that time, in the basement of Lucas's room, I saw a cabinet full of colorful potions. He used to do experiments on me with those potions all the time. Sometimes I would faint, and sometimes I would be extremely excited. Now that I think about it, those should be the potions for making poison. I took my sister to the company and asked her to start as an intern. Now she knew how to control her emotions. She would agree to whatever I said and asked her to do. I knew the reason why she had become like this was that she was plotting a murder. Lucas wanted me and Henry to die, and she wanted me, Henry, and Lucas to die. However, just based on the fact that she wanted to kill Lucas, I could make use of it. Soon, I took action. I went to find Lucas without Henry's knowledge. I knew Lucas very well. He liked obedient women, so I could stay with him for so long before. I deliberately wore a sexy uniform and looked at him. Lucas, I like you. He immediately became interested. Sister-in-law, aren't you afraid that my brother will kill you? I've always wanted to be with you. I bit my lip, pretending to be shy. Also, I want to tell you something. My sister is going to poison you. Yesterday at the company, I heard her say it to a man with my own ears. As soon as these words were spoken, Lucas's face immediately flushed with anger. Is this true? Of course it's true. She said that you've been hitting her all the time, so she wants to kill you. She said she wants to achieve great success. Fortunately, I had the memories from before, so I could completely handle them here. Hearing what I said, Lucas completely believed me. Because no one knew about his perverted deeds except him and my sister. He said, just wait and see how I'll teach this woman a lesson. Sister-in-law, wait for me. When I kill Henry and her, you'll be my wife, and I'll take care of you. After saying that, he left. Haha, did he really think I was stupid? I would never be with him. I immediately went to find Henry again. Although his life and death didn't have much to do with me in this life, after all, he had helped me earn money and had been so meticulous in sharing work experience with me in the office. He was a bit surprised when he heard what I said. What evidence do you have to prove that Lucas is going to harm me? I took out a recording pen and played the conversation I had just had with Lucas. The first part was when I deliberately flirted with him, and it was so cheesy that I felt embarrassed just listening to it. I quickly explained. I was just pretending to gain his trust. Henry didn't respond to me, but his face was a bit dark. I shut my mouth sheepishly. The next second, he suddenly pulled me into his arms. The smell of pine wood wafted over, and I could hear his heart beating thump-thump. I was completely at a loss. He stared at me intently. Evelyn, I advise you not to have any thoughts of betraying me. As long as you are still my wife, you should be loyal to me. This silly boy, how did his focus shift to this? Don't worry about these things for now. The key point is that your younger brother is trying to harm you. Now what do you think? We'll see if he has the ability. If he can't kill me, then he'll be the one who dies. Henry didn't seem to take this matter to heart. He even took me to a dinner party in the evening. He said it would be beneficial for the development of the branch company and that we could meet many clients. When I followed him in, I could feel many gazes sizing me up. All were unfriendly looks. Men are all no good. I should have known better than to bring her here. Henry's inner thoughts suddenly emerged. I looked at his side face in surprise. His face was expressionless, yet he could say such things in his heart. What did that mean? He noticed my gaze and looked down at me. What's wrong? After that, he thought in his heart again. So silly. I was even more shocked. The cold and domineering CEO in my impression, how could he say such things too? I tried hard to control my fluctuating emotions and shook my head, saying it was nothing. After the dinner party, Henry took me home. Lucas and my sister were waiting for us in the living room. My sister took the initiative to invite us to eat. Lucas stared intently at my chest and then also said with a smile, "Brother, sister-in-law, today Anna and I went to buy some delicious dishes. Let's eat together." Damn it, his intention was so obvious. I really wanted to know how Henry in my previous life was poisoned to death by such clumsy means. Looking at that big table full of delicious food, I didn't dare to take a single bite. I grabbed Henry's hand under the dining table, signaling him not to eat either. But the next second, he picked up the food and ate it. He was so fast that I didn't even have time to react, and he also said, "It's quite delicious. Let's all eat." As soon as these words were spoken, a glimmer of joy flashed through my sister's and Lucas's eyes. I was so worried that I kept pinching Henry's hand, but he didn't move at all. I had clearly told him that they would harm him. Why did he still eat? Just as this thought came to me, Henry and my sister both fell onto the table. Henry's mother also came out. She angrily shouted, "Somebody send these two beasts to the dungeon and never let them out again." Evelyn, I'm not as stupid as you think. Henry turned to look at me. I had already told my mother to install surveillance cameras all over the house. When I discovered that Lucas had poisoned the wine, I had their poison wine removed and replaced their wine with sleeping pills. At this time, his voice suddenly became quieter, but you seemed very afraid that I would die. Could it be that you've fallen in love with me somehow? When he said this, my heart was beating very fast. No, I'm just afraid that if you die, there will be no one for me to rely on. He smiled brightly. Is that so? After my sister and Lucas were locked in the dungeon, I let out a sigh of relief. These two people I was most afraid of were finally gotten rid of. Now that I had earned enough money, the next step was to ask Henry for a divorce. I had been looking for an opportunity, but Henry had been so busy recently that he rarely came back. I could only wait for the right moment. One day, I heard from the servants that Lucas and my sister had been asking to see me. I want to see my sister first. Her hair was messy, and she looked very haggard. There was nothing but unwillingness in her eyes. How could you know that I was going to kill you all? Why could you know? The next second, she suddenly realized. I see. You've also come back, right? I looked at her with a smile. Sister, are you just realizing this now? Hearing this, she rushed in front of me in anger, grabbing the cell door and looking as if she wanted to kill me. You're really good at pretending. You always knew that Lucas was a pervert, right? So you just watched me jump into the abyss. Evelyn, how could you be so vicious? I stared intently at her. This face that was somewhat similar to mine. She was my own sister, but in my previous life, she had killed me with her own hands. In this life, if I hadn't been able to hear inner thoughts, I probably would have died too. Lucas was the one you chose, and Henry was also the one you chose personally. No matter how you choose, you're not satisfied, so you blame me. But you've never thought about your own problems. You want to rely on men, while I only want to rely on myself. That's the difference. But why could you be fine with whoever you're with? My sister roared. You see that I'm fine, but actually, I've been working hard to save myself behind the scenes. So I deserve all this, and you haven't paid anything. You always think that others will save you, so you deserve to be like this. After throwing down these words, I left. My sister roared unwillingly behind me. You wait for me. Next time, I definitely won't lose to you. When I came to Lucas's cell, he was concentrating on folding the quilt. He was still as obsessive as before. Seeing me, he laughed. Evelyn, you're very smart and good at disguising yourself. Do you know I actually believed that you really wanted to be with me? I was even ready to kill Anna and Henry, but you gave me such a big surprise. This is what you deserve. Who told you to be so vicious? I glared at him fiercely. His face gradually overlapped with the faces of him torturing me in various ways in my previous life. The fire of anger in my heart burned even more fiercely. He walked towards me step by step, looking me up and down from head to toe. If I hadn't been locked in here, I think your legs, your waist, your whole body would be under me. And then I'd inject you with a potion that would make you feel like you're floating on clouds. Haha. I couldn't listen to any more of this. Lucas, you'll definitely go to hell. After saying that, I ran away. Even after walking out of the dungeon, I was still panting, unable to forget Lucas's perverted look just now. Fortunately, in this life, I finally got rid of him. In the evening, Henry came back. He was drunk. As soon as he entered the room, he lunged forward, and both of us fell to the ground simultaneously. You're drunk. I'll go make you some hangover soup. I tried to push him away, but he didn't budge an inch. Moreover, his hands were constantly unbuttoning his clothes, and his extremely possessive eyes were fixed on me. I immediately realized that he was sober. Henry, think clearly about what you're doing. We're just in a cooperative relationship. You're not allowed to touch me. He covered my mouth with one hand and whispered in my ear, Anyway, you're my wife, and I will touch you. I pushed him away forcefully. No, I'm going to divorce you. You can't touch me. As soon as these words were spoken, the whole room fell silent. Henry's face darkened. I knew you were going to leave me. As he said this, he let go of me, looking a bit dejected. Evelyn, you're a bad woman. Have you already forgotten about me? His words brought my memories back to my childhood. When I was in primary school, there was a boy with long hair in school who wore a mask all day long. Everyone always laughed at him, saying he was feminine. I stood up to protect him and took him to the back hill of the school. You can't be so cowardly. You have to protect yourself well. He slowly lifted his head to look at me and took off his mask. Thank you. I just wanted to grow my hair long to donate it to my aunt. She has cancer. Only then did I see his face. I didn't expect him to be so handsome. I fell in love with him at first sight. From then on, I followed him and protected him every day. He told me his name was Henry. Later, his aunt passed away, and he also moved away. All these years, I've been looking for you. It wasn't until the day I could hear your inner thoughts that I realized you were the one I was looking for. Because I could only hear your inner thoughts, I never revealed my identity to you. I wanted you to come to me on your own. I wanted to know if you still remembered me. I waited until one day when I heard your inner thoughts. As he was speaking, his eyes turned red. I didn't expect such a coincidence in the world. He could also hear other people's inner thoughts. Also, I noticed that you could hear my inner thoughts too. So I deliberately said those things in my heart to confirm it. I looked at him guiltily. Sorry, I didn't mean to take advantage of you. I was just afraid of being abandoned again. So I thought that once I saved up enough money, I would leave you. Do you still want to leave me now? I shook my head. Previously, I wanted to leave him because I thought he didn't love me and I wouldn't be happy staying with him. It was better to rely on myself. But now I've learned that he is Henry and that he's been waiting for me all this time. So I won't leave anymore. I also suddenly realized why he resisted my sister so much in my previous life. He knew it wasn't me, so he wouldn't touch her. Thinking of this, I felt his warm lips kissing my cheek. He said softly, "Evelyn, stay with me for a lifetime." My eyes welled up with tears. Okay, we'll be together for a lifetime. Fortunately, God gave me a chance to be reborn so that I didn't miss my beloved.